Okay, hello everybody. This is the Winter 1v1 Tournament Best of 3 series between macros42 and GameSlayer989. Macros currently leads the series 1-0. I'm Philothanic, joined by Hexapus. Hexapus, what do you think about this map?
I don't know, in some weird locations and the carbon they're not very nice. I don't know what to say. Maybe a sign to the southwest where the two iron and the water is. Other than that, I really don't know where to find.
Yeah, this map is very interesting. You have a bunch of iron over the top right-hand side of the game. I'm sorry, map. There's other iron in random places, and then this scavenger carbon is really all spread out and not that useful. You have these two adjacent low tiles north of the colony. That's really the only possible spot now. GameSlayer goes for expansive.
Crushing aluminum.
Crushing a bunch of aluminum seems reasonable.
Unfortunately for him, Macros managed to grab the iron. That gotta hurt. Okay, he found another patch, so it's not too bad then.
That's about the same distance for GameSlayer here.
Yeah.
GameSlayer right now, so the only thing with these founds going on this side of the map is both players are really far from silicon, which is all on the opposite side of the colony for them, and it is a glass colony, so they both will want silicon. On the bright side, there's plenty of silicon around, although there's only one high tile.
The black market is online.
Oh, I guess this will work out. It's nice. A nice move by GameSlayer is that he brought up all the steel,
HQ has been upgraded.
so that it makes it harder for macros upgrade.
Yes, and then I am corrected in chat. The two adjacent low carbon actually gives less carbon per second than the two non-adjacent highs. So thank you, Dubin, for that correction. GameSlayer did beat macros to the upgrade, which is not something you like to see as a robot playing against an expansive. And both players are just going heavy into steel at this point. Well, Macros is going heavy into steel. GameSlayer still has one more claim that he hasn't used. Now he uses it for another steel.
Was it going for a black magic tile? Okay for robot because they don't consume food.
And Macros first with the EMP against GameSlayer's steel. Steel has been going down in price, and there's the follow-up play from the response from GameSlayer to Macros. So we're just gonna sit as neither players really are earning any money right now. Also, GameSlayer has a black magic farm as well.
So they figure black magic is quite a bit of game, so that must be the right move.
GameSlayer thinks better of it and removes that farm. Instead, decides to claim a water.
Well, a water, interesting.
He's claiming a low water, which is interesting.
I'll prefer going for ice
next to a bunch of ice. Ice makes what, 1.5 a second, but they only are operational for a little bit of well, 60 something percent of the day. I still think that's the better play though, than shipping in one low tile's worth of water.
I guess he's going to go for the other low as well. That will give him 3 water per second. Just alright.
Yeah, I mean, so the amount of water I guess is roughly the same. The only difference is the shipping costs.
You also don't have to worry about macro shutting you down from the water market when you have to go to ice. Like for condenser, people can always like EMP you during the day, and you're stuck with no water. But macros really like the black magic tiles. Got a 1 black magic So condenser and a one black magic food tile.
The GameSlayer's in 2 water, which makes sense at the moment because water is currently pretty high. What doesn't make sense is both of these players are still in 3 steel each when steel is $29 and falling. I'd like to see some of that steel rotate, and there's a shortage. I mean, sorry, surplus.
HQ has been upgraded.
I'd like to see...
That's a good time to upgrade.
It is a perfect time to upgrade. That will raise the price of steel. Both players hitting HQ3 at roughly the same time.
Wrapping the geothermal bench. That's a good claim. Also prevent macros claiming that tile and go for a superconductor trade.
Right. GameSlayer also kind of needs that geothermal vent. Just kind of take the edge off of that high power price. He is in a B levels of debt at HQ3, while Macros is still at AA. Although both players are currently burning a lot of power debt.
So GameSlayer still has one more claim. Not sure. Oh, so he's going for another geothermal.
He's going for another geotherm, and once again he did not protect his first geotherm, so it got blown up.
Well, you got 2 of them, right? One of them is going to get attacked. So.
Right, but you should defend at least one of them. That way,
oh, I don't know.
One
I would have
is
just
up.
attacked him instead.
But goons are cheap though. They're 3k each.
We have a hard-to-come-by land claim.
You defend one, you got a 50% chance of it bouncing, especially when there's no spies. And you getting to attack Macros back with that dynamite, I'd say that's worth it for 3k. Now, Macros right now only has 1 wind tile sitting by itself. He's another claim, so he could give it a friend, which is what I would highly recommend. And
yeah, and a dust storm is coming, so.
He's going into farms just as a dust storm is coming. Now, farms are extremely profitable right now, but that's going to
go for a pair of wind turbine and a pair of farm instead of going for a triangle of farms.
Yes. Not to mention, you could have put that wind turbine where the farms were, right at the edge of your headquarters, and then you could rotate it out later if need be. This farm over here, he can rotate it into ice.
An expansive HQ has been
but
upgraded.
Other than that, those 2 wind turbines over there aren't that useful. Now, GameSlayer's going to want to shut this power down, otherwise we're going to have a repeat of the past game.
GameSlayer going to reactors, a very sensible choice.
Yes, reactors are a sensible choice because reactors are not affected by the dust storm, and they do not cost glass to put down. Glass is pretty high.
A lot of money. The reactors, both oxygen and fuel, the price of both of them are really, really high.
Right. Right now, Macros is once again, just like last game that we criticized him for, he's auto-selling the food when GameSlayer's not in the food. This is just making GameSlayer's famous debt problems a little bit less. And GameSlayer, well, I guess GameSlayer actually is in D debt right now, so he can't respond and attack Macros' power, which is earning a ridiculous 1.5k a second.
The black market is open for business.
GameSlayer is too far into that to pay off to get to a C bond rating.
Yeah, okay, so this glass price, GameSlayer is, I do like this. GameSlayer is in glass, he's the only one in glass, and he's not selling any of it. He's just allowing that the consumption from the colony to increase, and that's what Macro should be doing with his food instead of auto-selling it.
In hacker array, that's something GameSlayer really wants, I suppose. But unfortunately, his step came out of it.
I mean, yeah, he did really want the hacker array, but the nice thing about the hacker array is it means Macros is no longer making power money. He's just using that power money to pay off his debt. Macros realizes that, so he stops auto-paying power, trying to keep that up and just continuing to hammer GameSlayer's geothermal vents, which have been nice black market absorbing ducks right now, sitting ducks for the black market.
And Macros is hacking power to make GameSlayer life even more difficult.
Yes, hack up.
It really depends if Han can manage to keep those 2 geoframes down.
GameSlayer decides that now is the time to get aggressive against Macros, since he does have the slight cash advantage. However, Macros does have enough money to defend himself, so this will be a rather pointless exercise. GameSlayer kind of needed to wait until Macros upgraded to HQ5 before that.
An expansive HQ has been upgraded.
GameSlayer decides that it's okay for him to upgrade. Macros follows after. GameSlayer now has farms up, which means that Macros can't punish GameSlayer for not being in life support anymore, which is something that we wanted him to do earlier. So but yeah. GameSlayer's debt continues to rise, 281k and counting. What can he do to win at this point? That is the question. Any suggestions, Exodus?
Hacker array will be the first step. And then, I'm not quite sure after that. Maybe you can have power and hopefully outproduce them, and then you won't be earning money. I really don't know.
So one thing that he could do... So there's a couple things he could do at this point. He could sell out of Macros, finish selling out, pay off some of his debt, and be sort of tied with Macros and money, but not have this huge debt spiral that's going on.
But we're talking about GameSlayer. He won't pay off debt.
No, he won't, but he could. He is doing the first part, which is selling out of the stock, but he's putting it all into glass and deciding to hack it. So the only thing GameSlayer
come through before the midnight strike, so he was gonna take another interest tick.
He's decided that he already wants that interest tick, and
if he's decided that he wants the interest tick, he might as well just not buy up his stock and wait for the interest tick to in and make his job even cheaper.
Yes, well, he has 1 hour. He's deciding that, you know what, you're right. Gonna sell out of that stock, allow the debt tick to hit. And
it's surplus on grass. Oh, that's done by Macros too, so we can't.
Yeah, Macros has realized that GameSlayer's hacking glass and has decided that he's going to buy into GameSlayer. So this is where it'll be interesting. GameSlayer has a significant higher amount of cash, but has a lot more debt, so a lot lower stock price. Macros, on the other hand, has a lot less cash, but a lot higher stock price. And just putting up the X key, there are a lot of red numbers on the map right now. There's not a lot of money being made on map Offworld outside of these glass kilns. The GameSlayer just continues to hack. GameSlayer's sitting on a good 59k worth of glass, and that's continuing to rise as this hack comes through. He's now
New
hacking
building is available
a shortage
for
of
auction.
electronics.
Sold.
So GameSlayer right now has the ability to buy all the way into Macros' stock, all six, just about all 6 pips of it, and then he would be bought more into Macros than Macros would be bought into GameSlayer. But so then it'll just be an earnings potential for these players. Let's take a look at the offload prices. They are starting to rise, with food being low. The food launch is actually pretty decent, 32k each. And this wouldn't be a bad.
Food at $44, so
What's up?
food are like at $44. They have crashed the food market because they stayed in there for too long. Perhaps they should switch them out.
The only thing, these Offworlds are going to be pretty expensive because these electronics price is pretty high. So I'm not sure if that's the answer for Macros to finish
I don't
the game
think you should
either.
go to Offworld. It won't last long enough.
No.
If GameSlayer can't finish like today, his chances are pretty slim.
Well, he is 74% of the way on GameSlayer right now. Or sorry, GameSlayer 74% of the way on Macros. Let's correct that. Buying into it, he's doesn't have too much to go. If GameSlayer parks his money is parked in this electronics hack, which he is hacking. This might be
Price manipulation
enough to
begins.
push him
Trying
over to the
break our
edge
stuff.
to make the buyout on GameSlayer and tie the match up.
It might just work out.
But I think the story of this game so far, if GameSlayer does pull out to win it, is Macros' money has been sitting in GameSlayer's stock, not really earning any money. In fact, it's been losing money as GameSlayer's stock goes down in price. Or GameSlayer's had his money out of Macros and has been enlarging it with hacks.
The Macros is not really using his hacker array effectively. Like, his hacker array is not doing anything right now.
Yeah, I think
Can't let them get this.
he just might
Bid now
not
before it's too
know
late.
what to do. I'd say one thing he might want to do is buy up a pip in his own stock and just make that cost, instead of a little bit under 40k,
Congratulations.
a little bit under 80k for GameSlayer to buy.
GameSlayer has the money.
Oh, Macros does buy that one last pip to make it extend it out a little bit more, but I think GameSlayer is
I
going
don't
to
think
have
it's
it.
gonna change the outcome.
Now there's the only thing that really making money on World right now is that electronics price, and that's because of GameSlayer's hack. Macros decides to go on the offense against GameSlayer's hack array, but that's a little bit too late.
Money. And GameSlayer got game. Okay.
GameSlayer pulling out the victory on Macros on the back of all these hacks, I'd like to say.
And look at his app, 439k.
439k debt for GameSlayer.
That's almost $500,000.
$500,000 in debt. I bet if we look at the balance sheet, yeah, according with those interest charges, GameSlayer has made less money than the business net revenue than Macros, but he decided that he didn't care.
Oh, if you can win the game quick enough, who cares about that?
Right. If you can win the game quick enough, and if your opponent kind of stalls out while you continue to use your hacker array to make money, then yeah, who cares about that? It's just another number. I mean, there were some things that Macros could have done to punish GameSlayer, make that debt situation spiral even worse out of control. And we mentioned some of them during the stream, particularly auto-selling food almost the entire game. But especially when GameSlayer wasn't in farms, just if he instead bought into food, GameSlayer would have had so much more additional debt since he never decided to pay it off, and it would have compounded on itself. And
I mean, I would
perhaps,
like to see more aggression by Macros.
right, it did feel like there's a low amount of black market. In fact, GameSlayer hit Macros more. No, I'm sorry. Macros only hit GameSlayer 6 times more than GameSlayer hit him, despite GameSlayer being in D debt. I want to say at least half, if not more, of the entire game. To be fair, there weren't the tools in this match are not as good as the previous one. Although EMPs still are only 10k, and so that's kind of no excuse. Well, okay, 20k for Macros to buy an EMP, but that's still not really an excuse.
And network virus, a lot of stuff was auto off, but GameSlayer had a lot of stuff auto off, so that would be those would be a prime target for
right.
network virus.
That hack array was sitting unused, so he could be hacking up some primary resources that GameSlayer doesn't have enough in, and then use the network virus to keep those buildings on and burning through money.